Hi, everyone, and welcome to this special episode of the Passive House Podcast, recorded in Tarrytown, New York at the PhiusCon 2021 Passive House Conference. Before we get started, I want to thank Phius for putting on the conference and for coordinating with us on these interviews, as well as NYSERDA for serving as conference partner with Phius and community partner with us here at the Passive House Accelerator. Thank you, too, to Rockwell North America. Their generous support underwrote all of these interviews as well as our coverage of the conference. With that, please enjoy my interview with John Woelfling of Dattner Architects. Hi, I'm here with John Woelfling of Dattner Architects. He's a principal at Dattner, and I'm really honored to be able to sit down with you and hear about your work, your incredible 425 Grand Concourse project, and your impressions of the conference. So welcome.
So I just presented earlier today. It was a good crowd. There were lots of questions. It's actually my first Passive House project.
Wow,
and
what a way to start.
Yeah, and so I like to do things big.
Yeah, apparently.
So it was 275 units or 277 units of all affordable housing, over 300,000 square feet, 26 stories. My firm specializes in affordable housing, but this was a real opportunity to take that specialty and that expertise and then overlay it onto it a whole other series of complexity and issues. But it made a lot of sense for the project because the location is in the South Bronx. And the South Bronx is one of the worst zip codes in the United States for childhood asthma rates.
Yeah.
So when we pursued this project with our developer, Trinity Financial, there was a competitive RFP that was issued by the city. And one of the things that Trinity wanted to do was make themselves and make their proposal stand out. So they wanted to have this environmental equity aspect of the project. So that is, in addition to the design that we came up with and some of the other, the mixed use component and the all affordable, that was one of the kind of subtleties to Passive House that was really important.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that they brought that to the table because it opened up my eyes to the opportunities that Passive House has, that the synergies between Passive House and multifamily housing. When you've got all of these people with high usage of appliances, electronics, lighting, just the bodies in the building, you can really benefit and leverage that occupancy and that density and the form factor and the skin to volume ratio.
Right.
So multifamily housing and Passive House go together so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we really benefited from that. In my presentation, I show how the envelope values are actually not that much higher than a code building. And that's because of the density. So the two really go very well together. I think the project is, for maybe a short period of time, it's going to be the largest Passive House project in the East Coast. But then there's going to be like Sendero Verde, which is also in New York City. It's going to go higher and bigger. Anyway, it's kind of an arms race that I'm glad to be in. With who can do better, who can do more. So I'm really excited about it. We've also got 3 other Passive House projects in the office. One that just came online, that's 248 units.
Wow.
All affordable. It's workforce housing. We've got, and 2 other ones over in Brooklyn that are also going to be coming online about the same time. So there is this, real traction that I think is being gained, I think primarily in municipalities for really dense urban multifamily buildings. So I'm glad to be able to kind of be riding that wave.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it really is.
I feel like every time we come together for a conference, there is a project or two that are sort of emblematic of where we're at as a community. And I feel like 425 Grand Concourse is one of those projects this year. And it's also interesting just to see this continued legacy of leadership from the affordable housing world in Passive House practice. The largest Passive House project in 2012 was Orchards at Orenco west of Portland. Maybe it was 2013. I don't remember the exact year, but I think that was a 59 unit, project. And so here we are seeing that legacy continue. And it really, I think, expands, all of our kind of imaginations of what's possible, but even more importantly, the understanding of the broader world about the applicability of Passive House to their work. And it's the legitimacy that Passive House enjoys today is just at an entirely different level than it was in 2012, for example.
It works at scale so well.
Yeah.
And I like to think about what has occurred over the last 5 or 6 years is that, at least in my little realm of the world, my bubble, it really started, Passive House started as kind of a boutique thing that, if you were of means, you could take that step. You could invest that in your real estate, even though, it may not have a broad appeal or knowledge. So it was really like a boutique brownstone sort of approach. But for all the reasons that I mentioned in the intro or what we were just talking about, it is just such a natural fit for these larger, dense buildings. And I have to say that I think municipalities, whether it's Philadelphia, or New York City or other places where they're really getting closer, whether it's through codes or other incentives that are really pushing for buildings and sites and projects that the cities or these municipalities have control of or some sort of say in what gets built. They're advocating for this type of performance. So I think there is some real leadership from government authorities to be making these more possible.
So how about key lessons that you're taking home from the conference or other impressions from what you've seen?
I feel like we are at a tipping point. I think some of the plenary, acknowledging that, we have to do a better job of selling this to developers and kind of speaking their language and kind of aligning the way we're talking about projects. I often hear the term product.
Right.
I don't think about the projects I'm working on as products. I think of them as housing, but some people look at them that way. So I think aligning those interests and looking at it from a dollars and cents perspective. And there's another presentation I was listening in on, and basically it was, if you're going to do Passive House, make it as close as you can to what the local communities or the local trades are used to building. So there's less of that barrier, that hurdle that you have to get over to make it work for them, whether it's cost, comfort, in taking on that additional burden. I mean, let's not fool ourselves. It is more complicated to build a Passive House.
Yeah.
So to lower that threshold for who really has to be your partner in the project is a good strategy.
Yeah, great insights. Well, John, thank you so much for this and for your work and for sharing these thoughts with us. And I think I need to clear away all of this equipment from the stage because the star attraction, Joe Steebrook, is about to do the closing keynote. But please keep up the good work. We really appreciate it.